26 miles north of Manchester in England lies the offices of a very special company. And here, at the centre of this company, in the office of its CEO, we are about to witness something spectacular. Under normal circumstances, the scene before us would have been quite disturbing. Endless meetings, stressful conversations, phone call after phone call. But this CEO is different. For this is the CEO of a systemized company. As the afternoon falls on the lush carpets of his office, we can clearly see that this man has nothing to do. With the rest of his herd working away, following the systems this CEO has set up, he is now no longer needed. And so he has had to adapt and find new ways to spend his days. To find out more about how this CEO achieved this remarkable feat, stay tuned for the next episode of The Systemization Show.
Hello and welcome to the Systematization Show, the on-demand TV show for print executives looking to get rid of bottlenecks, eliminate errors and turn their business into a well-oiled machine. I'm once again joined by my colleague Ross Edwards and entrepreneur and author Philip Paul Bayer. In this episode, we're going to be telling you how to build an operations manual. And I'd like to start off by asking Philip to explain exactly what that is. Philip, what is an operations manual?
An operations manual is a set of documents that describe how your business runs from morning to night in every single process in between. The maintenance of the building, the operations of your software. There's nothing left to chance. Everything is described in this operations manual, and it's set into an organized system, another system, which manages all of those documents. In other words, document management of your operations manual.
What's the first step with this then? How do you get started creating an operations manual?
Well, that's the beginning of systemizing a business. You have to make a decision and a commitment to stay with it no matter what. Because you're going to have some bumps. It's just like when you put in your MIS system. You have some bumps in the road. So when you're building your operations manual, you're going to have some bumps. But I'll tell you, when you finish, you're going to have something that is so valuable, it will drastically increase the value of your business, and you're going to have employees sticking around longer. You're not going to have the turnover in employees. You're not going to have the turnover of customers, because this operation leaves nothing to chance.
The next step I would always recommend is actually then to start with your organisation chart and work out, okay, so to deliver what we want to achieve, what roles do we need within this business? And that will then start to guide you as to creating your operations manuals for each of them roles. I think that can be a good starting point, from a blank piece of paper. What do you think, Philip?
I agree exactly what you said. Now the other big thing, remember we were talking earlier about frustrations. Okay, what is the biggest frustration? So the first thing that I did in our operations manual when I started systemizing the business, the first thing I wanted to stop was my biggest frustration, which was losing money in the press room. Because I had to pick a point in the workflow where could I stop errors, so that any mistakes in the printing process wouldn't get out of the building. It wouldn't get delivered to the company. To the customer.
Yeah.
So I started in the press room, and I said if I started where we have a quality control checklist right there in the press room, I can stop anything leaving the building. So that's where we started,
Yeah.
with the biggest hole first. Then after I got that one accomplished, you go to the next biggest hole that you have. And then you keep going upstream and downstream until it all starts working together as in concert. Once you have that, say that quality control checklist in the press room, well, when they're considering everything they need to do to print that job correctly, we'll say they will identify errors coming out of pre-press.
Yeah.
Okay? They will identify that. So now while you're getting that one up, you start working on the quality control for the pre-press.
Yeah.
Because it starts identifying. And then, if things are happening in the bindery, then you start working that, and then maybe bindery starts identifying what other things need to be considered in the press room. You see how it all starts?
Yeah.
It's a continual improvement process. And really, then you start getting those small things really start going away.
Yeah, yeah, okay. I totally agree with that. That it all connects together, doesn't it? And this is another byproduct as well of systemization, that it starts to help your teams to connect together and to appreciate as well the impact that their process has on the next process. It starts to really help to make departments, rather than being islands, to be more cohesive. And we see this a lot in the integration projects that we do with customers, where all of a sudden pre-press and customer service, rather than being in separate departments, start to actually be in the same department, and maybe even sitting around the same hub of desks and things, because they're interacting so much. Yeah. So it takes away them islands and gives you a much more cohesive team.
How do you decide what areas of your business to do this? And I'm assuming that you don't have to systemize everything, but how did you decide, Philip, which areas needed a system and which areas did not?
Well, measurement is the key. Measurement. You remember the system buster locator. When you start measuring, every time you have an error or a mistake in the company, you start measuring that, it'll start showing you where you're losing money, where are you wasting, and what system needs to be placed. If you're having a lot of paper waste, well, you have to start identifying, why are we having paper waste? What's causing the paper waste?
Yeah.
Now, like I was saying before, remember about the ink? Well, we started measuring it, and it wasn't even worth tracking. So you start with things that are costing you the most money. You measure the cost, and if it's minuscule, you don't need a system for it. It was so funny when you were talking about getting down into the weeds of systemizing, and we would have people say, what would you like to add to the system? In other words, get the employees involved in this. And and one of the preventive actions they sent in was the clocks in the production area they were like, one of them was 2 minutes off, one of them 3 minutes off.
All right, okay, so they weren't synchronized.
They wanted us to, I said, what an easy fix. And I was telling my production manager, I said, her name was Jennifer. I said, Jennifer, can you imagine now what we're trying to fix now? That's all that's the only thing they can think of that needs fixing is the clocks are out of tune with each other.
It's almost like a compliment, isn't it? If that's the concern, then we've addressed a lot of the bigger issues.
Exactly. No, I agree with that.
Yeah.
And another thing that I used to do when I first started, every time I would walk through the plant, before systemization, every time you walk out into the press room or the bindery, everybody was stopping you because they needed something, or they have a suggestion for you. But you know what I started doing? I started taking a notepad with me. And when they would ask me a question, I started writing it down. Okay? Because why were they asking me something? They were asking me something because they didn't know something. They didn't have the information.
Yeah.
And so I said, okay, why didn't they have the information? That's my problem.
Yeah.
I didn't give them the information or give them a place they can access that information without asking me.
Yeah.
Or without asking their manager. So again, those are part of that operations manual. One of the key parts is having them have quick access to anything they need to know about anything in that business. But you were right. Communication with the employees is a key part of this.
So what we're saying is, well, to build a system, we need to involve the employees. We need to look for the big issues and then work your way down to the smaller issues.
Yeah.
Consider whether you need to create a system or not, because you might not always need to. So perhaps you want to measure something to see if you do want to build a system for it. And then after that, what do? You go into the granular detail in your book, which is really helpful for people who actually want to create a system themselves. But could you just give us a bit of an overview of, what would the process be if you have decided that you want to tackle a specific area of your business and create a system
there
for it?
There you go. Now we're getting down to the nitty gritty here. Maybe your viewers know, I've heard of Edward Deming. If not, it's a great look up. Look up Edward Deming. Edward Deming made a great statement. He said, if you can't describe what you're doing as a process, then you don't know what you're doing. And I say this too, every owner or even manager, they have the process. They have how the business runs, how this particular workflow process runs. It's in their head. And what we want to do is download that into a written document. Now, it could be an online document. It can be an interactive document. It could be a static document like a policy. It's just a static document. Of course, a checklist is interactive. In other words, you check something and you submit it. So I'm going to pull one up here in my notes. Because there's a beginning, there's a middle, and there's an end of a process. And every step in the process must be considered and mapped to achieve consistent and verifiable results. And so we need to start listing prompts, because a prompt is something that calls someone to an action, okay? And they're step by step. So these prompts, once we're finished, it can't have no gaps in it, no holes in the system. Everything is considered. You have to consider, what is the cost to the business if somebody fails to do something in this process? How big is that prompt? In other words, is it something minute? It's not even worth writing down, but you can consider that. And remember, the System Buster locator, if there's mistakes later on, that's going to show up. So sometimes at the beginning, we thought, well, that prompt is so little, that's not, let's don't even bother with putting that down. But you know what? Those little prompts sometimes is what comes back to haunt the business, which comes up. One little stupid prompt missed on a checklist can cost you $30,000 or $40,000.
Yeah.
I learned that the hard way.
Yeah, that's a really interesting way to look at it. Actually, when you think of the value of the jobs that are going through and potentially the added cost to the business if that job was done wrong and having to reprint and lost resource time and all the rest. That actually when you then start to look at that and think, well, if I had a process in that takes an extra minute to complete that checklist, or 2 minutes or 3 minutes, it's probably time well spent. And I think really the key thing of an operations manual isn't it, is that somebody should be able to pick that document up and be able to, without explanation, without anybody explaining to them, they should be able to read through that and be able to do that role, do that process.
Exactly. That's key.
Or at least understand it as to what that process involves.
So you have all these different checklists that you produce for all the different areas of your business that need it. Is that your operating manual? Is that it, or is there more to it than that, Philip?
Well, yeah, there's a lot more to it. checklist is part of it, because you have what I call those static documents. Like in the customer service area, all your CSRs, customers will call in and ask them questions. Can I do this? What will it cost me to add, to up my order, to change order? All of these are policies, okay? And every department has policies. When they're talking directly to a customer, those are static documents. But instead of them stopping and saying, "Oh, go find the boss, go find the manager. What do we do? This situation came up. What do we tell the customer here? They're asking this question. I don't know what to say." And operation meaning all of your policies should be there. Every policy. I don't care what it is. Because over about 4 or 5 years, those customers have asked those questions over and over. So there's policies, there's procedures. Some things is not a checklist, say like how to put new ribbons in some machine or some part in a machine, that the copy machine in the office, whatever it is, there's some procedures just how to do it.
I think to me the operation manual is like a description of what you need to do, and a checklist is actually supporting the reminders and the prompts to help you do that. So that the two kind of combine together. I mean, McDonald's is a great example of a place that uses operation manuals. As an example, when they're building a burger, there's step-by-step pictures of how to build that burger and what the end product should look like, and we can all take from that. Any business can take from that. It doesn't necessarily have to be pictures, but it's clear, concise operation manual of this is how you do this particular process.
And also that preventive action thing, or having the people have a way to, you remember the old times suggestion box that people used to put in their companies that never worked? You put it in there and then people would forget about it, and you'd go look for a suggestion and box would be empty. Well, because there wasn't a system for a suggestion box. So we came up with one. And we put it in System 100, and people would actually use it. Why? Because it was very simple. And the other key thing is they knew that we was going to take that suggestion seriously, and we were going to talk to them about it.
Yeah.
You see, when they know that, when they know you have a follow-up system, when they make a suggestion, I would call these people into my office and say, now this is a suggestion that we're not going to do, okay? We're not going to buy a 6-color new Heidelberg. It's not going to happen right now. But if it was something that was doable and I saw it was effective, we always implemented it, either, no matter how small it was. So that seeking innovation is always seeking a way to do a process faster, to ship the job through faster. Nothing that would stop them.
Yeah.
Stopping that waste.
Yeah, and bringing the employees into it is another way for them to ensure that they take ownership of that system and they're on board with it as well.
Yeah, definitely.
Okay. Well, that's it for this episode then. Hopefully you've learned a bit more about what an operations manual is and how to actually go about creating a system. So stay tuned for episode 4, when we're going to tell you about something called the 100% System of Cleanliness, which is a system that Philip himself designed for his own printing business. And I promise you that is going to be an interesting one. I even decided to implement the 100% System of Cleanliness in one of the rooms in my house, but I'm not going to tell you which room or why until the next episode. So stay tuned, and thanks for watching. Did you know that we have a huge library of blog articles on our website about a wide range of topics that affect printing and converting companies? For example, there's software implementation projects and how to get them right, continuous improvement of your MIS software and other technology, making the best use of the data in your MIS, integration and connectivity, as well as hints, tips and hacks on using your MIS software. If you'd like to get a monthly roundup of these articles sent directly to your inbox, then head to thorsten.com/subscribe and sign up today.